Oklahoma Career Tech. It's where confidence is built.
It's more than just practice. It's developing the skills to build a successful future.
We're doing work that matters.
To more than just us.
So, when a family needs me,
when my community needs me,
When Oklahoma needs me,
I'll be ready.
Hello and welcome, football fans, to the Skordle Pay Dirt Pick'em Show. I'll be your host, Andy Campbell. I'm joined tonight, as always, by Tom Nelson, Mark Rogers, and Jacob Diesehorst on our panel. We have two special guests tonight, Brandon Barnett and Keegan Renaud. This is our first time to welcome Brandon to the show. And actually, last time we just found out he's a St. Louis Cardinals fan, so it'll be the first and last time that Brandon will be invited to the show. No, in all seriousness, Brandon has spent the last 3 years running the show at Sealing High School as the principal and athletic director. He graduated from Cherokee High School and has spent time coaching hoops at Cherokee, Timberlake, DCLA, and other schools. Brandon, welcome to you. Look forward to having you on the show tonight. Keegan is a return guest to the show. Keegan is a Cashion High School graduate and the owner of RPM Data, which provides insight to clients in the player market of high school and college. If anyone has a question or needs clarification on any NIL deals or anything else, Keegan is a great resource and always happy to help. You can find him on Twitter or X or websites or any other way. So, Keegan, thank you for coming back on the show. Looking forward to having you as always. We also have two Skordle games of the week this week. Both of those are school broadcast games, Stratford at Minco and Dewar at Sealing. We'll be talking more about those games in just a few minutes. Let's go ahead and get started on our 8 network games this week that we'll be discussing. We'll start the show in 4A2 with Blanchard traveling to Bethany to take on the Broncos. Both of these teams are 2-2 on the year, but had big wins last week against district opponents to start off 1-0 in the district standings. Mark starts off Blanchard at Bethany.
It's been a really good series for several years between these two teams. Bethany is trying to rebuild, lost a couple of their better players at the beginning of the season that transferred to Mustang, and Blanchard is trying to get things figured out under Lance Manning in his first year back on the sidelines. I'm going with Blanchard in the game. Should be a close one. Don't know that the point spread is that high, but I'll take the Lions against Bethany.
Tom.
Yeah, last year's game was fun. Blanchard won at 48-44. Blanchard played a tough non-district schedule, 3 5A schools with losses to Newcastle and Guthrie. The Lions have won 3 of the last 4 in the series, and this is a huge game for playoff positioning in a really competitive district. I'll take Blanchard. I'll go with Mark and take Blanchard.
Brandon, I know you haven't been watching much 4A film so far this year, but give us your take on Blanchard at Bethany.
With both teams being 500 on the season and based on the quality of wins that I saw, I'm going to go with the Lions.
Keegan Renaud.
Along the same lines there, you see Blanchard's played just a little bit better of a schedule. I think that's kind of where we're at in football across the board right now. So I'll take Blanchard home.
Jacob Diesehorst.
Both these teams are 2-2. Both these teams have senior quarterbacks. I got to give a shout out to one of my college buddies, Jarrett Perryman, and his son, Hudson Perryman, who's a senior quarterback for Blanchard. Jarrett has raised a whole bunch of athletes. His daughter played basketball at Tulsa for 2 years and then just transferred to Clemson, where she's going to play her junior and senior year. And Hudson's also a really good baseball player. And I think I got this game of pick'em because on paper I think it's a coin toss. Even though we've all picked Blanchard to win, and if I didn't pick Blanchard to win, Jarrett would never be friends with me, hang out with me again, and he would rip me on social media. So I have to take Blanchard in a squeaker, 28-27.
All right, that is Pick'em game number 1. Let's go to Pick'em game number 2, which takes us to Class 3A, District 1, where the Kingfisher Yellow Jackets will hit the road to Purcell to take on the 1-3 Dragons. Kingfisher 3-1 on the season, 1-0 in district play after a 42 win over Pauls Valley last week. Tom Nelson, give us a preview.
Kingfisher is a hot team right now. That offense is clicking, averaging around 37 points a game, and that defense threw a shutout last week at Pauls Valley. Purcell has some experience in the secondary, and they're going to get challenged by Jet Birdwell. He was 13-16 for 200 yards passing and a couple of touchdowns last week. Kingfisher has never lost to Purcell. They're not losing this week.
Watch this game for free on KingfisherSports.tv. You can mute the audio if Michael Swisher is talking. Mark Rogers, go to you. Kingfisher at Purcell.
This is a mismatch in the mascot Thunderdome. A dragon takes out a yellow jacket anytime. Sorry for you guys. That's just facts. But in football this weekend, the yellow jackets prevail. So I'm going with Kingfisher over Purcell. Great fact from Tom there that the Dragons have never beaten the Jackets. I don't think they've played that many times. Kingfisher's been a little bit bigger than Purcell historically, but they're kind of coming together now. Purcell is a great place. If Lane Jones were here, he would tell you to go to Joe's Pizza before or after the game for a fantastic meal. Everyone knows it's the Canadian bacon there too.
Keegan Renault, let's go to you. Kingfisher at Purcell.
Yeah, good to see Kingfisher putting some stuff together. It's always funny. A few years ago, I was on. All these small towns kind of go through these ebbs and flows now. Good to see Kingfisher playing good football, and we'll obviously think they'll take care of business this weekend.
Brandon.
I would agree. The Kingfisher's lone loss to a good Weatherford team. Purcell's only win is to 2A Lexington. I'm going to take the Yellow Jackets.
Jacob Esource.
Yeah, Kingfisher's got the three Bs, Birdwell, Beckman, and Blair. Birdwell, the quarterback, and then his two favorite targets, Beckman and Blair, on the outside. And then Brett Calamado, the sophomore running back, has been their workhorse a tailback. But I think Purcell's better than their record. Their two of their losses were to Lindsay and Washington, which they, actually put some points on the board against Washington. So I think this might be a little closer game than people think. I do have Kingfisher an 11.5-point favorite going to Purcell, and I think they win the game 35-14.
Let's go to Class A2, District 1 for our next pick'em matchup. The Southwest Covenant Patriots 3-1 on the season, with this only loss coming to Texoma Goodwell 34-7 last week. The Mangum Tigers are undefeated on the year with 4 blowout wins, including 56 to rip at Apache last week to open up district play. Tom Nelson, tell us about this matchup.
Well, Mangum's been dominant. They haven't scored less than 54 points in a game yet. They've got 2 straight shutouts. How do you stop these guys? They've got 4 backs that have 150 yards rushing or more. Their quarterback is Remington Laughlin, has had a hand in 16 touchdowns. Curtis Hindley's averaging over 100 yards rushing a game. Covenant got spanked by Texoma, and I'm afraid it's going to be a long night for them again this week. I'm taking Mangum.
Mark.
230 points on offense for Mangum. Mangum will win this week. I think Texoma is a team to keep an eye on. They've had a couple of good wins the last couple of weeks, so that's going to be a fun district with some big time matchups coming up a little bit later on in the season. But I think that it is the Mangum Tigers with the victory.
Brandon.
Yeah, like all three of you said, Mangum hadn't been tested all season. I don't think it's going to get tested this week either. I think they're going to go to 5-0. I'll take Mangum.
Keegan.
Mangum, big.
Jacob.
Man, I feel like I just need to look at this game a little closer. Mangum, yeah, it's loaded with talent, blowing people out, explosive offense. Southwest Covenant, they've won 3 games too, but not near the kind of competition and not near the kind of results. I see Mangum, even though they're on the road in this game. I got them a 2-touchdown favorite, and I think Curtis Hindley the fourth, who's their junior hybrid back, and Zeke Rogers, who's played real well as a sophomore wide receiver, will be the difference. And Mangum runs away with it, 42-14.
All right, we'll go to pick'em game number 4, Class 2A1, District 4, where we have one of the more difficult teams to figure out in the season so far. The Chandler Lions dropped to 2-2 on the year after a 24-14 loss at Sequoia Tahlequah a week ago. The Lions look to rebound at home against undefeated Metro Christian this week. Metro has looked really impressive all year with wins over Chisholm, Cassia Hall, Noah, and Dewey. Mark, who wins in Chandler on Friday?
I had a post-game report from Lugnut after the loss to Sequoia Tahlequah. Felt like that the Lions may have left one out there, that the depth is a little bit of an issue for Chandler. So with a couple of guys hurt, either way, it's really tough. But Metro Christian has been a standard bearer in Class 2A or 3A. It doesn't matter. They played in the 3A championship game a few years back. They won a Class 2A championship when they beat Washington, the last team to defeat Washington in Class 2A in a championship game. Kincaid Ing, their quarterback, is very good. This one is a big win for Metro. And Chandler fighting to get back into the top half where they could host a playoff game. Probably gave up that when they lost at Tahlequah last week to Sequoia. So Metro wins this one and probably going away.
Tom.
Yeah, I've been on Chandler the last 2 weeks. It made me look good 2 weeks ago and left me dying on the island by myself last week. Metro Christian's good, and they've thrown up back-to-back shutouts the last 2 weeks. I'm going to take the Patriots over the Lions. I can't go with Chandler this week.
Brandon.
Yeah, I'm going the same way with Metro. With Metro's good win over Chisholm, I got to take the Patriots.
Keegan.
Hate to be the continuation of everybody, but feels very chalky so far. I'll take Metro.
Jacob.
I got a nasty text from Lugnut after, I mean, literally before the show was even, before the broadcast was even over. He's like, but, Chandler has played a really hard schedule. I mean, you got to tip their hat for the schedule that they've played. And I think that will come in handy late in the season, but they got to fight their way in, claw their way into the playoffs. And Metro Christian is not the team to get right against. Metro runs that spread offense. They like to move the ball around the field, play up tempo, lots of explosive plays. I got Metro a 18-point favorite on the road at Chandler. I think Chandler keeps it closer than that, but Metro wins 35-20.
All right, we're halfway through our network games. Before we go into game number 5, I want to thank all the schools that attended the 3rd annual Skordle School today in Enid. Over 20 schools represented, over 100 attendees in person and online. So
Awesome.
I know they did a great job today at Skordle School. Really appreciate everybody showing up to that. For Pick'em game number 5, let's go to Class A as the 3-1 Barnsdall Panthers travel to Woodland to take on the 2-2 Cougars. Woodland 1-0 in district play, but Barnsdall dropped its first district game to Fairland last week. Tom Nelson, tell us about this matchup.
Now, the defending champs in A2, they might be 2-2, but they've been tested. Those losses to Pawnee and Pawhuska, both ranked in Mark's A1 Skordle rankings. They're playing schools their own size now, and I think the Cougars are about to take off. Barnsdall record looks good at 3-1, but those 3 wins are all against teams that are still winless. They played a good team last week in Fairland and lost by 35. Woodland's a good team too, and they will beat Barnsdall.
Tom taking the new Skordle School Woodland. We love having them in the network. Mark Rogers, go to you.
Ryan Laverty's doing a nice job at Fairland. They've had a couple of good classes of athletes come through the school, so they're a team to keep an eye on. 62-15 last year, favor of the Cougars over the Panthers. I'm going to go Woodland.
Keegan.
Strength of schedule, again, you guys kind of mentioned it so far. I'll take Woodland. Played a little bit tougher teams. I think they'll probably take care of business.
Brandon.
Yeah, I have to join the crowd. Yeah, Woodland. Taking Woodland.
Man, we need some contrarians on the panel today. Everybody's taking the same teams. Jacob's
got to give us some games to be contrary about.
All these games, these are all big schools. It's like, man, we had no Class C. I think 1 Class B. Is that what I saw? Making it tough on me with the no 8-man. Hardly any 8-man on here.
Jacob,
this is the time of the season where the contenders become contenders, and if some of the pretenders become contenders. So if there are going to be teams that make that jump, that it's going to be in these early district weeks. If somebody's going to knock off one of the favorites, that's how you work your way into the playoffs and shake up home field advantage and other things and come playoff time. Barnsdale, is off to a great start. Woodland, though, even though they're 2-2, they're probably the best 2-2 team in 4A. They definitely are. And I know they're ranked in the top 5 in 4A for a reason. I had them a 3-touchdown favorite, and I think they win the game 42-20.
All right, let's go now to pick'em game number 6, Class 4A. Two of the top 3 teams in District 4 will battle it out in Broken Bow on Friday as the Southsaw Black Diamonds go to McCurtain County. Southsaw 3-1 on the year, 1-0 in district play, but face a tough test defending Graydon Howell and that undefeated Broken Bow offense. Mark, I know you saw Southsaw last Friday. Who gets the win in Broken Bow this Friday?
Unbroken series since 1996. I do want to give a shout out to everybody at Sallisaw who really put on a great show. They had an incredible crowd there. Both bands had performed their skit and routine that they were getting ready for the championships. Hilldale's band was awesome. So was Sallisaw's. That's a big time environment that they've got going there. And Sallisaw is in a stage of where they are really ascending when it comes to football. Their quarterback, Case Adams, had a really good game. I was impressed with how he threw the ball. Broken Bow has Graydon Howell at quarterback. They've got the game at their place. They've won big in 3 of the last 4 contests. They won big last year. And I think that there's probably just a little too much speed for Broken Bow back there. But when these teams in 4A4, when they get together this year, anything can happen. There was a wild result between Stillwell and Poto. Stillwell went on the road and played Poto within 1 point on Friday night. So there's going to be some teams gunning for the guys at the top. I was also impressed with Hilldale's team. We had 8,000 penalties in the second half, but that wasn't anybody's fault. Well, we'll get to more on that later. But anyway, I'm going to go with Broken Bow.
Tom Nelson.
Now, Broken Bow's off to a great start at 4-0, but that might be a little bit of fool's gold. Those 4 wins come against teams that are combined 1-14. Mark mentioned Graydon Howe, good dual threat quarterback, almost 800 yards passing and 300 yards rushing. He scored 14 touchdowns so far. Broken Bow's off to their best start since 2017. They've beaten Sallisaw 3 of the last 4 years by an average score of 43-14. It's a tough pick, but the district coaches picked Broken Bow above Sallisaw in the preseason, so that does it for me. Give me the Savages.
I think I saw Graydon Howe got offered by Tulsa a couple of days ago. I know he has a number of D1 offers, so congratulations to Mr. Howe. Keegan, let's go to you. Sallisaw at Broken Bow.
Something I can actually add some insight on. Was able to see Graydon Howell train a little bit here over the last few months. That is probably one of the more special athletes in the state of Oklahoma, and glad we're able to kind of talk about him here and what he could become. You mentioned his offer to Tulsa. Going to be really interested to see if there's any schools that offer him at receiver. I do think he has a chance to be a guy that could stay at quarterback. He's super twitched up, super explosive. I think he's going to be a guy that you're going to see play at the Power 4 level and probably at a pretty high level, depending on what he ends up doing, what position he goes. This one was a little bit tricky when you start looking at schedules and you start trying to figure out strength of schedules and things like that. But I'll take Broken Bow at home. Always those long travels. It doesn't seem very short, or it seems like it could be short in southeastern Oklahoma, but it ain't always short.
Brandon, let's go to you.
This is another game. You got big schools, 4A, and then you got the other side of the state. So it's hard. I mean, just based on location and liking to vacation in Broken Bow, I'm taking Broken Bow.
And Jacob Beaslehurst.
I just realized I misread Woodland. And this is what you do when you make districts have 1 and 2. You can read in your notes 4A2 and realize you actually had written down that they were number 4 in A2. So I'm going to correct that. Woodland is obviously one of the top teams in Class A2, not 4A. Now to Broken Bow, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention Andy and I's partner, the legendary Glendale Nix, who went down to Broken Bow, his hometown, a few weeks ago, and was just raving about Graydon Howell. And how awesome he was, and how Broken Bow is one of those communities that really gets behind their team, and they have an exciting team this year, 4-0. And this is according to, and Andy was on the same group text I was, but according to Kent Nix, our law partner's brother, Graydon Howell has offers from Stanford, Oklahoma State, Auburn, Boston College, Miami, and Tulsa. So, Keegan, I think you called it when you say this kid is going to be playing at a Power 4 on a power forward level on Saturdays, and he's a junior, so that tells you something about how highly regarded he is. I think he's the difference. No slight to Salisaw here. Going on the road to Broken Bow is never an easy task. Big time home field advantage. I got Broken Bow a 10-point favorite, 10.5-point favorite, and I think Graydon Howe throws 4 touchdown passes and runs for another, and Broken Bow wins at 35-14.
So, and real quick, some schools will be really interested in him and flipping him to receiver. I think this is a guy that you give a shot to play quarterback. I know he's on the smaller end, probably closer to 5'10", 5'11", but he's an exceptional athlete. That's has the kind of traits you're looking for.
And don't forget about him playing baseball. I mean, he's a very good pitcher. And so that's the type of athlete that he is. He excels at track. I mean, he's really good at everything. Wherever he lines up in football, if that's what he decides to do, I think there'll be a spot for him.
Indulge in Brahms Molten Lava Cake Sundae. Hot fudge layered on chocolate bun cakes. Brahms Premium Vanilla Ice Cream. Craving a dessert that's simply irresistible? Try Brahms Molten Lava Cake Sundae.
All right, let's move on to our first Skordle game of the week as we go to Class A1 District 2. Minko Bulldogs 4-0 on the season, have looked impressive in every game thus far. Coach Wardwell's squad will host the Stratford Bulldogs, who are 2-2 on the year but 1-0 in district play after a 34-8 win over Okima last week. And this is a Skordle network, a school network broadcast for Minko. The broadcasters Kevin Sims, Cameron Gossman, they do a great job over there at Minko, so look forward to this broadcast. Mark Rogers, give us a preview. Stratford at Minko.
Minko continues to be undefeated and play good football. Stratford this season, and talked to Coach Blackburn there. He is one of the longest tenured coaches in all of Oklahoma, staying at the same school. But I'm going to go with Minko and think that they continue to forge on undefeated.
Tom.
Yeah, Brock Wardlaw's Bulldogs have looked really good on their way to a 4-0 start. One of their wins was an 8-point win over Dibble, who upset Davis in overtime last week. So that's a really nice win now. Stratford is 2-2, a couple of wins over 1-3 teams, and a loss to a 1-3 team as well. Minko shouldn't miss a beat.
Brandon.
I'm staying with them. I'm going with Minko. I'm going to 5-0.
What makes the Luxa Pima my favorite team?
Keegan.
Minko, for one, did want to mention, this coach at Stratford's been there for a while. If it's the same coach that we played against when I was at Cashin in 2014, that was as physical of a football game as I've ever watched from the sideline. As people know, I wasn't necessarily the biggest part of the football things out there in Cashin, but Minko is probably going to get the job done here. Another school and town and program that I learned and grow to have a lot of respect for after they came into Cashin my junior year and whipped us pretty good.
State championship game, as I recall, Keegan. Cashin Stratford.
It was the state quarters my senior year, and we went on the road to Tallahena the next week, and then Thomas was in the state championship game. I think we played Tallahena in Glenpool that year, but that Stratford game, I know you guys, Adam, you may have been there, but that was as physical of a high school football game as I've ever watched.
Hey, Keegan, did you play in that game at Haleyville when they had the copperhead infestation?
Probably not.
Okay, that's good. That's good. You don't want to go to a football game and then potentially get bit by a poisonous snake because you put your helmet and shoulder pads in the wrong spot. I think Adam knows. Adam knows what game that was.
Yeah, he's giving us the thumbs up. People at home can't see Adam, but he knows what he's doing here. Jacob Esource, let's go to you. Minko and Stratford.
You know, Minko's sitting at 4-0. I think they're riding that emotional wave. Got to send our best wishes to the Minko softball players and coaching staff that were injured in that bus accident. And I know the head coach is still recovers. Best wishes to him. I know the community of Minko has rallied around the school, the high school, and I think the football team, talented to begin with, but having that kind of extra motivation could take them far this season. And in standouts like Cashton Johnson, the running back, Taylor Truelove, the other running back. I mean, this is an experienced team with junior and senior leadership, a solid offensive line. They coming off a big win, 44-0 over Hinton. I have them a 4-touchdown favorite at home, and I think they cover 42-8.
And now our second Skordle game of the week. Again, another school game of the week with the Sealing Wildcats broadcasting this game. Two powerhouse Class B schools facing off in Sealing on Friday. The Dewar Dragons 3-1 this year with its only loss coming at Walika a couple of weeks ago. Sealing has looked really impressive all year, especially this last two games. Tom, what can we expect to see in Sealing on Friday?
Well, this is a game that we've had circled on the schedule since it came out. The best in B1, defending champ Dewar against number 2 in B2, and last year's state runner-up in Sealing. Keep in mind that Dewar has already lost to the B2 number 1 Waletka 3 weeks ago. Sealing's looked really good against some good teams, although their record might not reflect that because of some issues. But a 20-point win over Laverne on the field always looks good. OBA is showing that they're better than I expected them to be, and they hammered Pioneer, who I watched beat Timberlake a couple of weeks ago. Sealing is 0-2 all-time against Dewar, and in those two games, both teams combined for 242 points. And I'm calling for another shootout in this one, and I'll say that Sealing gets their first win over the Dragons.
Mark.
B2 is better than B1 this year. I think it is going to be incredibly competitive between O'Keene, Walika, and Sealing. That class is one that there's a lot of teams that deserve to be ranked in the rankings going through there, but there's just been not a lot of movement with teams winning games. So I'm going with the home team here. Glad that these two teams schedule this game to challenge each other. Long bus ride will be tough on the Dragons, so I will go with the Wildcats.
Brandon told us before the show he's taking Dewar. Talk about your reasoning for taking Dewar in this game, Brandon.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. No.
All
It'll
right,
be a great test for a Wildcats.
Sealing athletic director here, Brandon Barnett.
It's going to be a great test for our Wildcats. We're looking forward to it. Before heading into district play, we got O'Keene next week, so we got two tough ones right there in a row. We're supposed to play Caddo, I think, this week, and Caddo canceled on us. So, in typical Coach Manuel style, he goes out and finds the toughest replacement he can, and to prepare our boys for the playoffs, and that's what this is going to do. Be a battle, but Wildcats come out. I want to go 28-22.
All right, Keegan, let's go to you.
It's always funny when you go and you get asked to do something like this and you go look at schedules and then you find out before the show happens about why someone's 2-2 or what it may say on the record. With all that taken into account, I think you guys just mentioned that with Dewar already losing so far this season, it sounds like it's always tough to stack year in, year in, and year out at these levels at high school football, not just in the state of Oklahoma, but across the country. So I had listed at Dewar. After hearing why things happened the way they happened, I do think Sealing's probably the right side here.
Jacob.
I love it that a top team from B1 is playing a top team from B2 this point in the season. To hear that it was a late reschedule makes this game have even more interest. Sealing, Walika beat Dewar 28-12 a few weeks ago. I think Sealing and Walika are the two best teams in B2, kind of on a collision course, I think, for the gold ball. But this is not going to be an easy task for Sealing. Being at home will make a huge difference. Sealing has become such a powerhouse in football year in and year out. And, sitting at 4-0, sitting number 2 in the rankings, I have them a 12.5-point favorite. Which in 8-man football, you get some weird lines. It's hard to set lines on 8-man games, but too much talent, too much firepower for Sealing. Rush Hunt will be the best player on the field, both sides of the ball, and he'll be the difference. And I see Sealing winning a game that maybe gets a little bit closer than we think, but nonetheless a victory for the Wildcats, 30-20.
All right, those are our 8 network games you can watch for free on Skordle.tv or the Skordle app. we are going to quickly discuss 4 non-Squirrel Network games in the state of Oklahoma this week. Cannot watch these matchups on Squirtle, but these will be great football games that I know a lot of people are interested in. We're going to start our lightning rounds. Jinx at Norman. Mark Rogers.
Jinx lost last week to Bixby, but they scored quite a few points in that game. Norman, good start for the Tigers. They beat Bixby last year at the end of the regular season, so one of the better teams on this side of the state. I thought we'd have some separation on West Side 6A this year between Mustang and the rest of the group, and it's not true. Edmond Memorial, Norman North, Norman High, those teams are right there with Mustang on this side of the state. Norman's competed well in some of these games here recently, but I'm going to go with Jinx.
Yeah, Mark's been telling us that Norman's a good team, and they've looked good beating 4 Oklahoma City area schools. Crew Knowles is the leading receiver in 6A1. He scored 4 touchdowns against Edmond North last week. But Jinx comes to town, and this is a measuring stick game for Norman. Jinx is putting last week's loss to Bixby behind them. Caden Jones was held to 36 yards on 20 carries, and he's going to want to make a statement and get back on track this week. Norman hasn't beaten Jinx since 1992 and has only been within 19 points of the Trojans one time during that time, 33 years. I think that Jinx gets back on the winning track this week.
Keegan, let's go to you. Jinx at Norman.
Yeah, always interesting to see that we now have the #1 rated high school football team in the country.
Yeah,
according to some folks. Tough one when you're a Jinx, you're going up against that machine. I have helped prepare for somebody to play Bixby in the past. Let me tell you, you think you've got one thing going, you're going to go in the wrong direction multiple times. I think Jinx probably bounces back here, but good to see that Norman, not a school, grew up in Edmond, Oklahoma my entire life. Not a school that was, really, really good over the course. So good to see them getting up here at 4-0. It should be a big one on here locally in the 405.
We have some late breaking news. Since Keegan grew up in Edmond, Cashin has been forced to forfeit 5 games.
That's what the O'Keen parents said back when my junior year of high school too.
It's unfortunate we have to go back retroactively, but that's been uncovered tonight. And so, Keegan, I'm sorry that you broke that news.
So does that put Coach Shackelford at 197 wins now? He's back behind 200.
Yeah,
not at 200.
Tough news for Coach Shack. Brandon, let's go to you. Jinx at Norman.
With Jinx wins over Owasso and Union, based off tradition, have to go with the Trojans.
Jacob.
I got to hang out with Shaq this weekend. I came to the OSU game with Adam and I. So I don't think Shaq's going to go for that. I think he's going to raise some hell and, with a.
The quote he gave to the O'Keen parents was, "What? I'm recruiting a kicker. You think I'm actually going to recruit a kicker over here?"
Yeah. Well, listen. What I'm supposed to be talking about is this awesome matchup: Jinx at Norman. Jinx looked like they were going to make the Bixby game interesting. I remember right before half, I think it was like 35-31, some in that neighborhood at halftime. It was like a touchdown difference between these Bixby and Jinx. And then when I flipped the game back on, 20 minutes later, Bixby was up by 4 touchdowns. I think that's what propelled them to the #1 ranking in the nation was the way that they manhandled Jinx in the second half with adjustments, defensively dominating the line of scrimmage. One of Norman's strengths though is their front line. They're big up front. They're tough. They got a talented quarterback who's slinging it around. This is going to be a good football game. I got Jinx an 8-point favorite on the road at Norman, and I do think Jinx comes away with a victory, but this is going to be a close 30-28.
All right, our second non-Squirtle Network game, Choctaw at Putnam City. Mark Rogers, I believe you're calling this game. Is that correct?
I am calling this game. Stepping in for my good buddy Johnny Brooks for this one, and it's Putnam City has done a nice job. They've had some new players this year. Willis Alexander is a good coach. His son's playing up there on the defensive line, but I think Choctaw has a little too much. But I'm expecting the game to be fairly good. But I'm going to go with the Yellow Jackets.
Tom.
Yeah, Choctaw's Landon Gatson threw 4 touchdowns in the first half against Piedmont last week, but they blew a big lead. Piedmont came back and took a lead in the fourth quarter before Mayor Morgan scored 2 big TDs down the stretch to pull away. PCO started last year, started this year just like last year. Opening loss to Yukon, blowout wins over PC West, North, and Classen. Then they played Choctaw last year and lost by 40. I kind of see it playing out like that again. Maybe not by 40, but the Jackets are going to win going away.
Keegan.
Putnam City showed some real fight over these last few years, but I think Choctaw, credit to them, they went on the road out of state, I believe, twice up to this point. That should help them here getting into playing a little more district play in Oklahoma.
Brandon.
I agree. I'm going with Choctaw. They don't have a bad loss. I think they come in here and take care of business.
Jacob.
Now, Choctaw, Tom mentioned this. Piedmont, was outplaying them in the third quarter, but then in the fourth quarter, Choctaw turned it on and won the football game. And that's what having senior experience, kids like Landon Gatson and Mayor Morgan does for a team like Choctaw. I believe Putnam City, don't they have the Millwood transfer playing for them?
Quarterback.
Yeah, that kid's electric. They're going to need him to play really well to stay on the field with Choctaw. But I think Putnam City's a playoff team. I think Putnam City's going to be in the playoff 6A too. They're a top 5 in Mark's rankings. Who knows more about high school football than Mark Rogers? I got Choctaw a 15.5-point favorite though on the road, but I think Putnam City keeps it closer than that. But Choctaw wins it 35-21.
All right, guys, 2 more games to pick. Let's go to Holland Hall at Lincoln Christian. Tom Nelson, we'll start with you.
Yeah, Lincoln Christian has had their way in this series recently. They've won the last 3 years by a cumulative score of 144-7. Holland Hall surprised us early on, beating Cassia Hall, and had a district opening win against winless Idabel last week. Carter Rickey has been solid as expected at quarterback for Lincoln. 75% of his passes completed for 175 yards a game, and he's got so many options around him. They got so many weapons. Braden Baker, C.J. Wright, Brett Cast. They got a lot of weapons. The Bulldogs have won 32 straight. I'm going to pick them to get number 33 this week.
Mark.
I think we need to start discussing where Lincoln Christian would rate in some kind of power poll. I mean, they beat Shiloh Christian on the road this year. Shiloh Christian beat Bethany 71-0 a couple weeks ago at Bethany. So that they are. I think they could give Tuttle a game. I think they could play up a class or two and really do pretty well. So I'm not picking against Lincoln the rest of the year.
Brandon, let's go to you.
I'm agreeing with Mark. I think they can play up a class or two and do well. Possibly win a gold ball up there. So I'm going with Lincoln.
Keegan.
Lincoln's a school that you hear about here locally in Oklahoma City area that, hey, you probably should check them out a little bit more, see what kind of stuff that they're running and things like that. Give them a lot of credit. They've won a lot of football games in the last 4 to 5 years. As Mark just said, common thought is that they're going to take away and win this thing in 3A.
Jacob.
Yes, Lincoln Christian is a powerhouse. And the computer rankings, according to one website, has Lincoln at 43.8 power points and has Jinx at 44 point something. Now, with that said, I'm not saying Lincoln Christian and Jinx are on par, but that just tells you how on paper, and that's based on performance and what they've done, how strong of a football team Lincoln Christian is. Holland Hall is no slouch either, but going on the road to Lincoln, a team that seems like it's just hitting its groove, just overwhelming teams, so much talent. Connor Rowlett, Carter Rickey, the senior quarterback, who's the ringleader on both sides of that offense and defense for Lincoln. They're just the best team in Class 3A by quite a bit. And I have them at 28 and a half point favorite in this game, and I think they win the game 42-20.
All right, guys. Our last game to pick this evening, Rejoice Christian at Pacola. Tom Nelson.
It's going to be a fun one. This is going to be a fun one to watch. A couple of explosive offenses. Last year it was 47-40 Rejoice. If Jay Trapozzi is on point, he could put the heat on Rejoice's defense, and watch out for Pacola's Antoine Thomas. He's a beast on the defensive side of the ball. That said, I'll talk up Pacola, but I'm going to go with Rejoice for the win. So I'll take Rejoice.
Mark.
One of the coolest parts of the trip to Salisaw was going to eat at Wild Horse Mountain Barbecue and seeing all of the different people in transit going to different places. I think Pacola played at Warner. We had people that were from Spyro that was going out on the road. We had some of the Stillwell people that were going to Poto. So I thought that was really cool. That's kind of a neat Friday night experience there. But I would say in this one, it's going to be a bunch of points. We had the Rejoice coach and players on earlier this season, and they had said that this is their biggest game of the year, the Bacola game, that they were looking forward to it before the season started. So Camion Compton Nero continues to do great things. Was at OU a couple of weeks ago with the family. I think that he's going to be a special player by the time he graduates in 2 years. He's just a sophomore there. So I'm going to go with Rejoice Christian, still my team to beat in Class A.
Keegan, we have some big-time Power 4 guys playing in this matchup. Rejoice at Pacola.
You do. You have a couple guys that over the summer, even when I was out the recruiting symposium where all the college football front office people are all gathered together, the receiver who recently committed to Oklahoma was a name that was brought up then. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to
Let's
butcher
say
his
it.
name.
Hey, Mark, let's say it. ZZ Okwafalizi.
Tom nailed it. Tom nailed it that night that I almost froze to death when nobody warned me that we were going to be outside. I'm still not over it. I probably lost a digit somewhere down the road. So, but yeah, that was ZZ Okwafalizi. He can play.
But it's good. I mean, I think Rejoice is as you guys have mentioned, they've been kind of the class of Class A here for a little bit, and I mean, I don't see any reason why that's going to stop this week. But it does give Pacola some credit. They do have some couple blowout wins on their schedule so far. Sometimes the talent disparity is what it is.
Brandon.
Yeah, I'm joining in with them. You know, being a Sooner fan and Rejoice having the OU commit ZZ. I'm not going to go anywhere else with that and just take it there. I'm taking Rejoice.
Jacob.
This is going to be a really good game. Has anybody picked differently on any of the games tonight? Okay.
Wow.
Then I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I think there's a reason that early at the preseason, Rejoice had this game circled on their schedule because they knew going on the road to Pacola was not going to be easy. And even though I have Rejoice an 8.5 point favorite going on the road, I'm picking Pacola in an upset, 30-28, because I don't want this to be a homer show and lose all credibility because everybody always picks the same teams. So that and who'd the computer pick? Let me see. Pacola, 34-30. There you go. Me and my AI friend are riding with Pacola.
All right, we have one contrarian on the panel tonight, and one game, one matchup. Rejoice at Pacola, and Jacob's taking Pacola. Thank you for joining us on the Squirtle Paydirt Pick'em show tonight.
Does Jake want to pick? Does Jake want to pick Kent State against OU to be a contrarian also?
My daughter can't figure out why I don't want to pay for tickets for Parents' Day for that game. She doesn't understand. But
that's the best game to pay for tickets.
Yeah, it's probably cheap.
Yeah.
If there's any weekend you're going to miss some college football, boys, this is the weekend to do it. This is it is not a good slate until about 6:30.
Yep.
All right.
Randy, it looked like that was going to be one of your best closes to the show ever. I apologize for jumping.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, things happen, and you just have to roll with it and see if we can make something out of this closing. Be sure to tune in to Skordle.TV, Skordle app to catch all these network games for free. on Skordle. Thanks as always to our sponsors and our great guests tonight, Brandon and Keegan. Really appreciate having you guys on. Enjoy all the football this week. Oklahoma, even the college football slate, Kent State and Oklahoma. Who does Oklahoma State have this week?
They
at Arizona, right?
Yes, they're at Arizona. So
at Arizona. So,
hey, at least they showed. At least Oklahoma State showed a little bit of life in the last game, even though they lost. The effort was there, so that was that's where we're at now as OSU fans. We're clapping for effort.
Did I see they were 16, 18-point dogs in that game?
20 and a half.
20 and a half to Arizona. Wow.
They were 21-point dogs at home, which was the first time, as long as I can remember, that they've been a 3-touchdown underdog at home. But you know something? We're loyal and true, guys. So,
other than the Mike Gundy.
And the national champs, too, by the way. Boop.
All right, we'll see you next week on the Skordle Pay Dirt Pick'em Show.
6 surgeons, 4 locations, 1 goal: to improve the health and lives of people in Oklahoma. At Oral and Maxillofacial Associates, we treat every patient like family. As the preferred dental implant and oral surgery specialist of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and with over 30 years of service to our community, we are trusted by professionals and dedicated to expert care. With 4 convenient locations around the metro area, we are here for you. Trust the experts at OMA. Visit our website, www.omaok.com.